I want to preface this video saying I like Jeremy Corbyn, right? I like his policies. I think that he's quite honest, and I think that a lot of the time he's spot on the messages and what he wants to say. The problem is, in the UK, we are getting to a point where we are quite politically apathetic when it comes to actually getting out there, making a difference and organising. And you have strange situations where I was really happy and hopeful that a lot of people that were upset that, lost, that started to organise, that have started to organise campaigns to make sure that we do get a good deal, and if it's not a good deal for us, that they'll put a stop to it. And I was really hopeful that, we might be getting some good stuff. And then you look at Corbyn. Now, I think the man could be good. However, I do not think he is a leader. And you saw the whole, literally the Labour civil war of old versus new Labour clash. And you've literally got the point where old Labour has won and won out completely again. And that new Labour has, they've lost. And hopefully they will now, unite the party. Because at this point in time, that's what we need. We need a united Labour Party and a united opposition. Now, I've said before that I am very much a Liberal Democrat when it comes to my voting. However, I live in what they would call a Labour stronghold. Barnsley has never changed from red, so much so that the area that I live in is called the Socialist Republic of Yorkshire. Literally, that's how likely it is to actually change hands, so to say. So, there's a lot of momentum behind Corbyn, but I do worry, and I worry that next general election, Labour won't do well, because I worry that people won't go out and vote. I really, really do. Over really the 2000s, since even I started to vote, I have always said I will go out and vote. And I've voted since I could, as early as I possibly could. And I purely think that there are a lot of people out there who talk a big game and don't vote. This is why I hate Russell Brand, for all his political talking and, his, whining about the state of government. Brand has never voted. In fact, he's actively encouraged people not to vote. And the problem is, if you don't vote, then you lose out massively. You may have seen a couple of weeks ago, I had a local councillor, an independent councillor, and off the record, she told me lots of stuff about the Labour Council in Barnsley. Lots of stuff I think that, if it was actually known about, would actually be quite a big news story. But the problem was, she was just like, I don't want to rock the boat, but there's a lot of problems. And I'm not saying that, we should just outvote Labour. I think at the moment, them being the only the party in opposition is a good thing, but them getting their message out is a problem, just as a problem is for the Liberal Democrats. In this day and age, I hear constantly people saying, oh, but the media gives them such a bad time. I'm sorry, but in this day and age, you do not need mainstream media to help get your message out. You do not need them anymore. And both Labour and the Liberal Democrats do a horrible job about trying to get the message out and get the word out about what they're about and what they are really offering. It was the same during the EU referendum. A lot of the Remain, their big point that they had was for every pound we spend, we get £10 back. What they needed was to really push that home and to really simplify all the benefits that we get of being in the EU. That's what they should have done. That's the attack pattern they should have adopted, and they didn't. And it was absolutely infuriating. And now we're in a situation of, in the next budget that's going to be announced soon, we are going to be looking at massive cuts to benefits. And in the area that I live, this is really going to affect a lot of people, to a point where you are potentially going to see a lot of people possibly end up homeless. You are going to see a lot of people having to rely even more on food banks than they already are in this area. It's one of the areas of the UK where the population really does have to rely on food banks. And I despair the fact that we've gotten to that state in this country that's where we are at. But where are our activists on this? They're there, but they're not organised. They're not behind candidates. They don't seem to be pushing the issues, and this is incredibly annoying and frustrating to me. It really is, because we are, as in the UK, I've said this before on countless times, when we leave the EU, we are in for a world of hurt that people just don't even understand. Because at the referendum, people just did not know what they were voting for. And we are in for an absolute god-awful, God knows. I mean, I hope that it's not as bad as it's going to be. That is my hope. But it's going to be bad. And there's a lot of people out there, both in power and not in power, who, and even Joe Smo on the streets, who aren't, they don't seem to want to have the political will to say, we're going to go against the people's wishes for the good of the country. And that's what I would love to see in a lot of politicians, backbone and spine. But you don't. You get the slightest whiff of, oh, this might be bad, let's not do it. When a lot of times it could be, good and of benefit to the country. Just recently we're having this massive government payout into Buckingham Palace, and I'm just like, that's an absolute smack in the face for when, Theresa May constantly says, well, we have to cut benefits. And it's terrifying. We've gotten to this point because people aren't politically active anymore. We've developed, the UK people, this melange of not really caring when we should. And that's the worrying thing, because that's when things will get bad. And what we need to do is we need to wake people up to the fact that you need to go out and vote. You need to be political active. You need to not only care about what's happening on your local level, but what your MP is doing, what they're voting for, what their record is on which way they've gone, what are they doing to fight for your part in your country, your area. I mean, it's going to be an absolute god-awful mess. It really is in the future. And if people don't start to realise that they need to get politically active and have a measure of understanding of politics to know roughly what's going on, then things are just going to get even worse before they even get better.